Good morning.
If I count correctly, we have a quorum. Hopefully, some of the members aren't, board members aren't here yet, will join us when they can. We know two colleagues who are unable to join us this morning. Could I ask you, please, I'd like to keep this meeting going at a brisk pace today. We've got a lot of topics to cover. And I want to make sure that we don't run long on meetings because everybody has a busy life. Could I ask you all to join me in a moment of silence, grace, followed by the pledge of allegiance. All right, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Particular welcome to the members of the public who are here.
Okay, yeah.
Are there any public comments at this time? Yes.
Come to the chair.
Yes, please come to the chair. I don't usually do that, but I'm in a good mood.
I don't
today.
usually sit either, but I'm gonna sit this time. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, board members and staff and public. My name is Ishmael Rivera. I'm sent in here on behalf of the ATU International. Those who don't know, the Amalgamated Transit Union, and I'm here to assist Local 1212. During my time here and the assessment that I've taken, it was time for us to get together with the leadership team here at Local 1212 and pretty much try to assist Carter and as well as our members. And having spoken with the leadership and the staff here at Carter, we took the position to move on so that we can better see the end game here, what the vision is coming year. So I believe that the members have spoken yesterday and the contract was ratified by 81%. It's something that we're working for this year and hopefully next year things will be better. We do understand the financial hardship that Carter is dealing with at the moment. And moving forward, we're letting you know the international president has sent me in here to assist as he was one of the negotiators here in Chattanooga for many years. So this is dear to the president. And I'm here to assist with the local leadership that stands behind me, President Strickland and Vice President Pro. I'm here, I'll be here in and out. So, I want to thank you and I hope that this board can go ahead and approve the ratification and the settlement that was given on behalf of Carter. That's all I have. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ishmael.
I would probably want to comment on that because, please, seat it.
It's not the hot seat, is it?
That's here. I got that.
He sits at the end of the table, has to pay for dinner.
At the door closer, but.
I want to comment on that. I was appraised of the development in the course of yesterday evening. I would say that I don't want to speak on behalf of all the board members because we still have to discuss it. But I'm highly confident that we all welcome the development and the news. It has been a long and protracted discussion. I think it's fair to say that while we are very empathetic to the challenges that face the entire team at Carter and the members of the local 1212 with regard to cost of living pressures and all of these things that are well known, The fact of the matter is also that Carter and the leadership and the organization, in a way, has its back to the wall. Because we are not a for-profit organization. We are totally dependent on grants from the various stakeholders and sources where they originate. And of course, a key stakeholder is the city, and should be also the county. And as we have struggled to come to terms with the long-standing constraints of many, many years, which have impacted Carter's ability to realize its own ambitions in terms of providing a high quality, high caliber, highly reliable, and highly useful value-added transit service to the entire community. It's one thing to have those aspirations. It's quite another to execute upon. And it is a matter of public knowledge that for the first time in many, many years, Carter enjoyed a significant increase in financial support from the city in this year. Contributions until now had been flatlined for many, many years, which actually means an annual decrease in support. And if your aspirations are a North Star and your resources are headed towards the Southern Star, the two will never meet. And we still have a very, very long way to go. I happen to, of course, be very well informed about the performance of Carter, all its operational metrics, including our financial performance, which we will discuss later today. And we have an enormous challenge which still lies ahead of us. But I think the members of the Local 1212 and the Carter workforce have made a statement today. That statement is that we believe in Carter as an organization. We believe and are committed to fulfilling our role to service the community. And we have taken the first step to say we carry part of the burden. Because let us acknowledge there's a significant difference between where we have agreed and what was ratified by the members last night and the original ask. It's fact. And where we have settled has massively been informed by the financial constraints, which are the reality of Carter that I've now referenced. So in ratifying this agreement, the members have said we've stepped up to the plate. We are illustrating our loyalty and our commitment, and we are shouldering part of the burden. And our discussions with our stakeholders, I think, are going to be strongly influenced by this very strong public statement, because it builds credibility. The leadership of Carter came in and said we are going to work on operational excellence, we're going to work on service quality, we're going to work on efficiency. All of those things have seen terrific progress in the last 2 years. So, building trust, check the box. The Carter team has stepped up now through the members and said, we are building trust. This is our commitment. And I would say this gives us great credibility in engaging with our stakeholders now. To say that if we are truly committed to providing a high quality public transit service to the community, then we need to look at the extent to which our financial support is able to realize those ambitions. And so, Mr. Rivera, to you and the local leadership, I want to say thank you for the hard work and the heavy lifting that has been done to bring us to this juncture. And we look forward to continuing the collaboration and the constructive engagement as we work together to realize our ambitions for Carter and build a world-class public transit service to support the members of the Chattanooga and Hamilton County communities. This is an important first step. Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments at this time? All right, well, thank you. Recognitions, Janine. Perhaps before you start, Janine, I want to also just inform everybody that we're gonna change the agenda that was published a little bit. Given the sort of hot topic nature of what we have just discussed, we of course want to waste no time in discussing the agreement so that the board can hopefully move to approval. So we are going to add the discussion of the union contract ratification under action items, really action item number 1. And we are also going to move the executive session until after the adjournment of the meeting. We have one topic to discuss during the closed executive session. So with that, Janine, over to you.
Good morning, Chairman Denison, members of the board, Mr. Frazier, the public, and Carter colleagues. On December 23rd, one of our employees, Lakota Stevens, sitting right over here behind us, was returning from our 12th Street location when a driver ran a red light near the Wilcox administration offices and struck the company vehicle he was in. DeJuan Bush, one of our safety training supervisors, was actually directly behind him as they both had been at the 12th Street location. He immediately jumped down and jumped into action, checking on Lakota, checking on the other driver, calling 911. Before emergency service were even dispatched, fortunately, we had a CPD officer who was coming from the other direction and saw the incident and stopped to assist. At the same time, Kelvin Dial, who is one of our other safety training officers, was here in the tower, saw the accident from the window and quickly ran over to help. Together, both DeJuan and Kelvin assisted with traffic control, working with maintenance to arrange for towing of the vehicle, and once again, just ensuring that both of the drivers were good. Our workers' compensation administrator was out on vacation, and so Kelvin quickly came over, got the proper documentation to ensure that Lakota completed it. Strongly encouraged him to be evaluated for any potential injuries because he was insistent that he was fine and he didn't need to go to the hospital. Fortunately, he did go and he did not have any major issues.
Janine just is like that.
Bruise, rest or something.
That's right? That's a no broken bones answered.
Yeah, yeah, he was good. This incident is a clear example of the effectiveness, responsiveness, and professionalism our team demonstrates every day, where safety is not just a policy, but it is a priority. DeJuan has been with Carter for nearly 15 years, beginning his career as a bus operator, later serving as a dispatcher, and currently in his role as safety training officer for about 4 years. He shared with me that one of the things he enjoys the most about working at Carta is helping others, ensuring that our employees are properly trained, licensed, and set up for success. Outside of work, he enjoys watching football, DIY projects, spending time with his family, especially his 3 grandchildren. Kelvin has been with Carta for almost 9 years. He also began his career as a bus operator, later served as a road supervisor, and about 2 years ago moved into the safety training supervisor position. He says that his favorite part about working for Carta is helping people and being a listening ear for our employees. In his spare time, he enjoys building train sets. They're pretty impressive. You get a chance to see them, collecting vintage automobiles, and also spending time with his family, especially his 4 grandchildren. We are incredibly fortunate to have both of them as part of the team. Their actions reflect the very best of who we are as an organization. It is our honor and pleasure to recognize both DeJuan Bush and Kelvin Dial as our January ambassador.
I'm sorry. The one. You're the one. Okay, yeah. Please shoot. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's a big smile. 1, 2, 3. Good job. Congrats.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, staff updates.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. We have one surprise announcement. And so we found out yesterday that MARTA has been awarded the 2026 APTA AdWheel Awards first place for our Carta Maps and school to support school read and ride program. This is the national association APTA. We submitted this program, and so this was done by, you may recall, earlier in the year by Savannah Ward. Savannah, stand up. But what's important, board members, you'll recall that Read and Ride started as a pilot program, but we have seen such good response from the community. Many days, there are more than 300 up to 400 students riding the system every single day. And that big bump that took us from about 150 every day to this larger number was because of this outreach. And so what we created, it's what Savannah created, were individual maps from schools to the individual routes that students could get to. And that's where we saw that huge increase. And so anyway, we submitted this as an award. This is first place for us. It will go on, and then we could be in the running for the grand award of all of the first place awards later this summer. But wanted to give our Savannah Award kudos for this.
Congratulations and well done, Savannah. I'd like to ask you to throttle back your effort, otherwise you might think you're doing a good job. Moving on to staff updates, Doug.
No, we're creating a lot of little transit riders. Chair Nyson, members of the board, Carter colleagues, members of the public. I want to be as brief as I can be. I could talk about this for a long time, but we're gonna be quick. There's two things I want to talk about. One is to remind the board and inform the other folks that may not know about our vision, the long-term vision, with Plan Chattanooga. I want to remind people about what that means for the next generation of mobility in the Chattanooga region. And then talk about what we're doing today to get there. So we have the transit vision and we have this transit improvement plan, which I'll talk about. One is long-term, two is what are we doing today, which sometimes can get lost in the day-to-day challenges. We just talked about some of those challenges recently. But I think it's good to sit back and say, here's what we're working with. So let's see. Plan Chattanooga Transit Vision. So CARTA, along with the Regional Planning Agency and our consultant partner, Kimberly Horn, developed a long-term plan for what mobility looks like in the Chattanooga region in the next 5, 10, 20 years. There are three key objectives with this plan. One is universal access. So high quality mobility for folks that not only have no other choice, but to make this transit system the choice that a lot of people want to make because it's better. We're not there yet, but that's one of the visions that we have. The other one, seamless integration. So there should be very little friction to using the system. So if you want to get from point A to point B, we want to make it as easy as possible to do that. And that involves more than just the buses. So the plan, the vision talks about how do we integrate things like microtransit, pedestrian cycling. How do we bring all these things, how people move together into the actual bus system? So that's seamless integration and future-proof. So Plan Chattanooga isn't just transit, it's what's the development look like across the region as we move out 5, 10, 20 years. We just want to make sure that CARTA is involved in that and a key piece of that and can complement the overall development that's happening in the area. So those are the key three objectives of Plan Chattanooga Transit Vision. If we look at the components of this vision, so I know you can't see this probably, but it's a map that identifies all the pieces of what this vision looks like. So I want to just highlight a few of these things. So first, high capacity corridors. So we're talking about two, that's the yellow highlighted areas on the map, basically a north-south and an east-west high capacity corridor, very high frequency, moving a lot of people in those corridors. Yeah, we're not talking about next year necessarily. We're talking about this is moving on. It's going to take some time. This is what we want to get to. Secondly, on the microtransit side, so that's Car2Go. we're talking about 4 new Car2Go zones. The big blue blob over there is like, it's kind of like we have 1 zone right now. Existing zone Car2Go in that area to the east of the city. We're talking about 4 new zones to make microtransit much more available to folks to get back to removing the friction of riding in the system, getting to point A to point B, is to get folks onto these high capacity corridors as easy as possible. Paratransit is Caravan. So ultimate goal and the vision is to have Caravan be available countywide. It isn't today, but we need to get there so that folks with disabilities, again, remove friction, have people be able to get to the system as easily as possible, regardless of their ability to do so. On the fixed route side, we're talking about 6 new routes. And those are indicated on the map by the squiggly orange arrows. So things like service in Red Bank, in East Ridge, getting from, say, Hamilton Place over to Hickson without having to go downtown first. That's a big deal. So those are, we want to add more service, again, to get people more easily where they're going. On the parking side, you probably heard Charles talk about this park once idea, right? So you go downtown, you park your car, and you can get anywhere you want to get around the city easily. We're making strides in that today, and that's not 20 years out. That's near term, but it's super important. On the commuter service, I just wanted to highlight there. So the board approved the service standards last year. Thank you very much for that. That provides some design guidelines as far as the service set network goes. It also provides metrics. How are we going to measure ourselves going forward to make sure that we're providing the service that we need to provide? So there's some minimum service standards such as frequency and span and where we put bus stops and amenities at the bus stops, all of that. We want to have this is the baseline service that we want to provide, and we're not there yet either, but at least we have a document that can get us there. And then finally, the little blue dots on that map signify these mobility hubs. So we're looking at in the vision to implement, to construct 33 of these mobility hubs. And what these are bus stops on steroids. I'll show you a picture here in a minute, but it involves again, multimodal bringing, so bike storage or bike parking, car share, bike share, pedestrian connections, all to make it super easy to get to these higher capacity lines so you can hop on the bus and get to where you're going. All right, so that's all the pieces. So what are we doing today? What have we been doing since I've been here? Tomorrow is my 4-month anniversary. So we've been doing a lot of work the last 4 months. Actually, there's been work before I showed up, but this is just to say what's happening now. So the transit improvement plan we have in place has a bunch of phases. We're working on phases 0 and 1 and kind of at the same time. Phase 0, the reason it's called 0 is this stuff should have happened way before I showed up. And so we're trying to get the house in order. So things like cleaning up, data cleanup, and schedule optimization. So if you're looking at the system and you're on Google Maps and there's places where there's a bus stop, but it shows up 4 times because there are 4 different IDs for that bus stop. That's not data integrity. The running times, what we think it's going to take a bus to get from this time point to this time point varies throughout the day. The scheduling system is not accurate with what is reality. And so to the degree we can fix that, then our on-time performance gets better. So those are the small changes that we feel that we can make very soon. And we're working on that. So the other thing, I mentioned the service standards implementation. So that is that policy I talked about, but it's also the board will be bringing to the board here very soon the new performance dashboard. It'll show those key metrics that we want that drive our behavior to get the system to where we want it to be, and that'll inform our decisions on what kind of changes and improvements we make. Bus stops. So we have a couple of guideline documents we're working on. First is for bus stops. So where should bus stops go? What should be at a bus stop depending on what kind of route it's on and where it is and how much room there is. again, minimum standards for these things. Right now, we have stops that are just, dirt spots in the ground with a sign, and that's not ADA compliant, for instance. So we figure out we're in the middle of taking inventory of every bus stop that's on our system, and we're gonna, and it's more, so that picture at the top is us looking at these bus stops and recording the size of the bus stop, what's the slope of the concrete, how large, is there a connection, is there sidewalk and pedestrian connections, those kinds of things. And so once we have that inventory, then we can start looking at an improvement plan, which includes ADA accessibility, and we want all the stops to be accessible.
Then you walking around there with the spirit level?
No, that's Lee, I'm in the orange, just trying to stay warm right there. Now we were testing out the data. It's really, we have an iPad and it's got a database or an app, and we're recording various parameters with the bus stop. So we're gonna have a lot of great information.
You guys are much more sophisticated than I would just eyeball it and say it's sloping.
I would say Lee's probably getting pretty good at doing that, but just in case he has that, and then finally, the mobility hub, we just received some grant dollars that will be really great to start designing things like that rendering. So that is an example of what a mobility hub might look like. So we're working on, well, what do they really like? Do we have a small, medium, and large mobility hub? What's contained? What kind of amenities are going to be at these hubs, and have that guideline document. So we get some consistency with that.
You know, the level is not actually a minor thing. We're kidding about it now, but it's an important thing.
Absolutely.
And there is in fact city code for what sidewalks need to look like. And I don't know if it's just the angle at which this was taken, but I can just see from here that whoever built that thing is probably not compliant.
It might be the photo, because if I remember right, that the pad was pretty level. I
Yeah.
think it's just an
Okay.
optical illusion, but I can tell you that there are situations where they're not compliant.
Well, if I may, on that, I'm sorry, I can't keep my mouth shut. We have over 1,000 bus stops in the system right now. I would venture to say that 75% of those are not ADA compliant. And there's many problems with that. Number one, the persons who are utilizing Caravan, the board approved a policy. They can ride fixed route service fare free if they could just get to the friggin' stop. And so one of the outcomes that we expect out of the design guideline is the package of the improvement plan. In other words, these 700 stops are deficient. And we can take that, and that's very specific. We can design out the solution and then go get implementation grants. And so I just want the board to be aware that many of the grants we've received, and we kind of keep a regular steady of planning grants coming in, you're going to see a switch. It's going to start to be implementation grants. We did the planning, we did the assessment, and now we're going to go build. We're going to put concrete and we're going to build these things out. So it's just important that you're cognizant of planning grants first, deliverables from that, and then we do implementation grants thereafter. Sorry to cut you off.
So those implementation grants, they require a local match?
Sometimes and sometimes not. Usually they will. Many times, and Annie can kick me if I'm wrong, but many times for that type of an implementation, it could even be as little as 10%. Lots of times they're 20, but it depends on the grant. Once we have the deliverable of here's the non-compliant bus stop infrastructure, we package up 3 basic design structures, we cost it out, it's sitting there ready to go anytime money becomes available, and we kick out the application, and it's to receive money to build. Adjacent to this, we are working with the city of Chattanooga because they've got the construction arm. They are preparing a procurement to receive and funnel grant funding so that they can build and receive this grant funding as a subrecipient to CARTA. So we're planning to have the deliverable, what needs to be fixed, go get the grant to fix it, and then have the city of Chattanooga receive that money as a subrecipient so they can implement.
So I think this is why it's so important also that there's very clear collaboration and open lines of communication with the city. Because the city too would have budgets for works, right? And if we need a local grant, we should tap into that resource as perhaps one avenue to make the matches work. as opposed to finding more money out of thin air.
I think to your point, Mr. Chairman, it should relieve the city's budget. Because if we're able to go get this money for that purpose, we can make other improvements that the city would have otherwise been doing along the way. And so often qualifying costs will be the street, drainage, traffic signals, things that people don't typically think are in our lane. But these are the things that we want to look farther, and then we want to leverage that grant dollars to help the city as well. So to your point.
So I appreciate actually that we have a representative from the mayor's office, and there's really a good line of communication. Because it is only with this sort of constructive engagement and coordination of activity that will really move the needle. So thank you for being here.
All right, couple more slides. So that's phase 0. Let's go to phase 1. So some things are happening in phase 1. Additional fixed routes improvements going forward. So we do typically 2 markups or 2 schedules a year based on UTCs being in class or not. So additional optimization work as we fine tune the schedule. The bus stop right sizing. So we mentioned we're doing the design guidelines. We're taking inventory. We're going to have an improvement plan, and then we go out and implement that plan. And then look at all of the things that are in that vision, the long-term vision, and then figuring out what kinds of improvements can we make when. And so this part of phase 1 is working toward that growth plan. On the infrastructure side, some signage. So that looks like a Kindle. That's an e-paper real-time sign. It's about yay big. And we have a pilot with the manufacturer we're getting ready to roll out. So we're going to have 2 of these on Market Street, one going one way, one going the other way, that will provide real-time information on when the next buses are coming down. And also, if you can't see, but the lower portion, we can do messaging and updates, things like that. So we're piloting that. The goal would obviously be to have many more of these things out there in the future. So benches and shelters. So the other pictures are example of a bench. We're actually getting one like that coming as a sample to look at it. There's a program that we talked with the board about implementing and installing many more of these types of benches. So we're going to take a look at one. The little bench on the right is called a Soul Stop. It's 2 little seats with a button and a solar powered light. And there are places where there's just is not room for a bench or a shelter or anything else, but this would be much better than a patch of dirt, right? So we actually have a couple of these that we're going to be installing so that folks can use them and we can seek feedback from the ridership.
Doug, is that a light or a strobe?
It's a light, it's just lighting. Yeah, so there's a solar panel at the
Is that like
top.
a button?
Yeah, the button is just so the light isn't on all the time, I think. So if there's nobody at the stop, it saves power, right? So if somebody pushes a button, the light comes on.
I didn't know if it was something that they could activate.
Like a
to let
safety
them know
thing.
that
Yeah,
they need.
I'm here.
Us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, as far as I know, I haven't actually seen these in the wild yet, but
If I may, I have seen these in the wild, and you can do lots of different things on those, but just to be clear, so those are just 2 little individual seats. And so it's just where you have, again, where you don't have infrastructure, at least you can provide something for somebody to sit on. And so there's many places where things are up against a building or they'll never be ADA accessible. But these, just FYI, and somebody found a picture of it recently of me. So in Palm Beach County, where I was, we deployed, this was in our repertoire of things we deployed. So we had shelters and benches, but this tool really worked. It was very popular there because it's streamlined and you can get off your feet and sit down for a minute. But anyway, we'll try it out and see what the community says about it. Bill's laughing.
Sitting down is one thing, but getting up from that bench.
That one looks a little low. It's true.
I think it's an outdoor. I think it's higher than it looks about. Yeah. But,
It's true.
anyhow, so we already mentioned the ADA bus stop improvement plan. The idea here is that we would start as Charles mentioned, start actually implementing that plan and making some improvements. So Last thing I want to talk about in phase one is shuttle redesign. So the pictures are of, late last year, we had a series of roundtables where we brought in stakeholders to talk about the transit improvement plan and also specifically the downtown shuttles. And we were seeking feedback on the routes, where they should go, where should there be stops, what improvements can be made. The map on the right is just it's not in stone at all. It's just showing what could be based on some input that we initially got. Subsequently, there's been a survey out with a mapping tool that just finished up. In fact, I think I just saw in the inbox, we finally got the results compiled. So we'll be notifying you about that insight that we got. And so there's some new routes. The green one is the Riverfront Parkway route. There's a route envisioned down Main Street and maybe up Chestnut Street. Those currently aren't served, but maybe in the future. We're moving toward that. So
Are those one passenger, like shared buses, or is it possible to get a double mobility shared bus?
I'm not sure what you're referring to, Bill.
With
You mean the
capacity on the inside, can you get one power chair?
I don't,
On
I'm not sure.
on this one, there's one, but there's different form factors for these. And so we would, so especially on both fleets for shuttle and for transit, we will plan for some diversity in the vehicle size. So it won't always be the exact same size vehicle. We want to we want different form factors. So the answer is this particular one seats one chair. There's other models that seat multiple. And just as a reminder, for the shuttle network, many of these routes, the frequency is the 7 to 10 minutes. And so they're very frequent, and so, which is different than a fixed route bus where the frequency might be 60 minutes or much longer. But I hear your point, and we'll bring to the board.
Yeah, if you're traveling with a friend.
Roger that.
Okay,
Yeah.
you won't go together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want, I'll be back in 7 days.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'll catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
That's a good point.
It's true. And then just if I may, yes, we will certainly look for those opportunities. And if for whatever reason that's not possible, that one of the purposes of Caravan is to allow for that transportation. So we do have vehicles, but I'm letting you know that we will intentionally look for diversity of the vehicle form factor when we're making these decisions. The board will have an opportunity to input on that.
Bad, I can feel that.
Yeah, roger that.
Do we have any data on, I mean, picking up Bill's point, which sounds like good point. But do we have any data on the actual capacity requirement? Because that should probably also inform our strategy of diversity then, right? How many vehicles have two and how many have one, so we know what the demand is.
The answer is yes, we have some data, but it's likely incomplete because we would, if there are two people in wheelchairs and we cannot accommodate them, we're not recording that we missed an opportunity. So I think one of the ways that we might try to address this is because there will be additional public outreach for the shuttle network. That can be a very intentional question about, the need for ADA chair space. So we can put some work into that and keep it top of mind.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Doug.
All right.
If I may. Yes.
Mr. Frazier.
Yes, I'll be brief, knowing that we need to get to actual business. So this is just a follow-on to the discussion that Doug gave for us, and I apologize for those in the back that might not be able to see this, but I'll orient you to what this is. And there's no numbers to back up this yet. I just want to give you a concept of what's coming. This is intention. This is our growth strategy for the transportation improvement plan that Doug just talked about in terms of financial cost. And there's no cost up here today, but this is what's coming for the board. So what I want you to know is in the bottom left, what we know today is what our annual operating expense is and what the city's contribution to that operating expense is. number one. The 20-year plan, we are in the process of costing out what it will mean to this organization to add the new 6 routes, to add the 4 microtransit zones for countywide microtransit service, for the 33 mobility hubs. Everything that Doug talked about, we're in the process of pricing that out. But 2 things the board should know. Number one, that long-range 20-year plan is one thing, but what we will be bringing to the board in the very near term is the 5-year strategic plan. The 5-year strategic plan, we're going to give you an annual estimate of what CARTA needs to do to get to our minimum service standards for the routes that we have today. For example, for our core routes, we have definitions of the routes, core, neighborhood. We have definitions of the minimum service we would put on the road in terms of frequency and span. So we're going to need to increase frequency so somebody's not waiting at the bus stop for an hour, but they're going to meet our minimum standard of 30 minutes. So what we're going to build into this program, which you will receive likely at the February meeting, it'll be ready for sure in March, is what is the annual cost for the next 5 years to get us to our minimum acceptable level of service for this organization? In other words, what we've said as a policy is the minimal acceptable standard, if that makes sense. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that this is coming for you. And what we're going to be talking about today is the framework for the next year's budget, fiscal year 27, which is going to either be the reasonable next step in this growth plan, or if the funding doesn't come as we expect it to, what we need to do to maintain where we are today. So I just want to give you this high-level overview to prepare you for what's coming. Any questions? I can take any questions. I didn't really give you a ton of detail there. Okay, if there's no questions, just know that this is coming, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
We'll move on.
All right. It's always the heavy lifting subject. Budget.
That's coming later.
Yes. Consent agenda. In the interest of time, we've distributed all the material. I'm just going to ask for a group comment on all the topics. Are there any comments to the minutes or changes to the minutes, comments to the statistical report, the Embassy Suites parking contract amendment, or the county budget request?
Yeah, the procurement report. The procurement report.
Didn't I mention it? Procurement report?
7D, thank you.
Oh, yes. I missed it. Any comments? Can we all approve them as distributed? Motion? Second?
Second.
All right, so approved. Thank you. Didn't hear any dissenting voices. We're in a hurry this morning. All right, action items, please.
Contract, union contract.
Starting with the union contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, board members. Good morning, members of the public, and CARTA staff. You've been distributed a memo that's separate from your packet. This is the contract extension with the Amalgamated Transit Union, ATU Local 1212. Staff recommends that the board approve a contract extension with ATU Local 1212 through December 31st, 2026, as I'm about to present. Alignment with strategic goals. This action aligns with CARTA's strategic imperatives of quality partnerships, service efficiency, and fiscal accountability. Summary of need. Approval of this item will finalize the conditional package deal between CARTA and the ATU Local 1212, which will expire if not ratified and accepted by both the union and CARTA's board before January 31st, 2026. This conditional package, this conditional package deal includes financial improvements, including a 3% hourly wage increase for bargaining unit employees effective the date of ratification, ratification bonuses for eligible full-time and part-time employees ranging from $400 to $1,600, and an extension of the contract to December 31st, 2026. In making these financial proposals, CARTA also requires changes to the current union contract, including expanding the cap on regular runs from 9 hours to 10 hours a day, with a cap on the number of those 10-hour days allowed, limiting the payment of overtime to hours actually worked in excess of 40 hours during the regular work week, and requiring a schedule floater to perform an incline employee's scheduled missed work before utilizing another employee. For background information, our prior contract with the ATU expired on June 30th, 2025. This will bring that contract forward with various amendments, which I will just go through in a moment. The fiscal impact of this, the 3% moving forward through the end of the year, will be approximately $119,000, which is within the fiscal year 2026 budget. The ratification bonus structure, approximately $250,000, approximately $167,000 of that is already included in the fiscal year 2026 budget. The remainder is to be offset with a reduction in overtime. On the pages that follow, these are the tentative agreements that the union and CARTA management have all agreed to. They're laid out beginning on page 4, going through item 1 all the way through item 12. And those are details of small changes in existing contract language. But this is the high-level summary, and I would be happy to take any specific questions that the board might have at this time.
Those small changes, is there anything material that the board needs to be aware of?
I don't believe that there is. This has been primarily at this point, as you said, Mr. Chairman, to me, this is a significant time of partnership for CARTA and the union. There are some financial benefits for this package, but the union has recognized that we need some tools to most efficiently schedule our work and to effectively manage overtime. For me, this is a win-win outcome, and staff strongly recommends that the board approve it.
Any comments or questions from the board? Feels to me like we've walked a long journey to get to this juncture. We obviously, as board members, have been kept appraised of the ongoing status of the negotiation, so I think that by now it's a topic that is very familiar to all of us. And I don't need to repeat my earlier comments. This is an important milestone, indeed. Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion approved.
Thank you.
Well done to everybody involved.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just want to recognize President Strickland and Vice President Chris Crow, if he's still here. Yeah, both stand up, please. I just want to thank both of you for your partnership. You've really come to the table with this agreement, and we will certainly continue our relationship. And I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for leading our represented employees and give you the opportunity to say anything that you might like to say.
I'll let say, we appreciate you all working with us, and our goal going forward is to work with CARTA. We gotta go to city council, where we gotta go to help get these funds in, because we want to keep CARTA going in the right direction. You know, we didn't want to see no one laid off. We didn't want to see any of those kind of things. So that's our goal. Our commitment is to work with you all to get it going, whatever we gotta do. So that's my commitment.
Okay.
All right, I want to thank each and every one of you for putting your time in, being a part of us, getting us where we need to go. It's been a journey, but however, I'm thankful for you all. Thanks for the approval. We just happen to realize that we have been underfunded for several years, and now everything's coming to the light. So us partnering and working together, and just sticking with each other during these hard times, I think part of we headed in the direction that we need to go if we're funded properly, because our CEO has done so much in 2 years with little. So I can imagine if it's properly funded where this agency could go. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well spoken, both of you. I appreciate it. All right. Oh dear. Financial report, please.
So on our December 25 financial report, the highlights and obviously Charles, feel free to jump in at any point. Our highlights are that we ended the year-to-date results with an operating loss of $474,000. I don't know if you recall, but from executive session, that loss was a bit larger. As is customarily a process that I go through when overseeing audited financials, we're at the half-year mark of our overall performance. So I had the team do some extra scrubbing of the numbers and make sure that we got everything reflected in that 6-month window so that we have a good picture of a go-forward assessment as well. And in that process, we identified a couple of revenue items that were related to December, but were reflected in January. So we pushed those back. And what that yielded is an improvement in the overall performance once we did a full review of all of the activity. So that's the good news. It's always.
So
nice
you
to
found
bring good
some
news.
change beneath the sofa cushions. you said.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. And so that's an exercise again that I believe is important. That way we know that on a go-forward basis that we're in good financial shape at this point. And then we can move forward so that it'll make the year-end audit that much more successful as well. So to that point, again, the December performance at 474, so that's a half-year mark. It's still not a break even, which is ideally our objective. The December performance, as you see, was strong in many areas, and in total for the month. But what you'll see is there are significant costs in excess of revenue in both that caravan, especially, and fixed route, to call those out. And it's largely being driven by notable overtime costs, to the point that we are already far beyond where we were in overtime from last year. And management currently has some action plans identified in order to address some of these areas. And Charles, would you like to talk to that?
I can. Are there any maybe questions that the board might want to?
Well, I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, following the good news and sort of positive spirit that we've had in the meeting until now.
Mhm.
I'm glad you found some loose change beneath the sofa cushions. I don't think I would totally agree with you by saying it makes the things look good, it just makes it look less worse.
Exactly.
And to be honest, I don't think that we can underemphasize that $500,000 red ink that we see at the bottom is catastrophic. I mean, I have to be candid. I don't want to be too theatrical, but it's fact. We are not permitted to operate at a deficit. We can't. I mean, that's what it means. And if we are halfway through the year and we are $500,000 down the tubes, I don't know how you fix a trend like that this quickly. So it's going to require some really concerted effort. You mentioned overtime expenses. Where do I find those? I don't see them anyway.
They are buried within the expense
Okay.
cost line.
Can you give me order of magnitude?
Sure. So our overall overtime last year was $1.3 million for a full year. Through 6 months, we're at $1.1 million. So we are heavily into.
So halfway
that
through the
percentage.
year, we more or less we were a full year.
Almost,
That's effectively a doubling.
yes.
So look, the other board members should chime in as well. I would simply say that it is highly unusual, in fact, probably irregular, to see a deviation of that magnitude. Something has happened. Something has happened. And if we are talking of a increase of $1 million in our tracking rate for overtime, and we're $500,000 down the tubes, it's easy to see where you need to look. So it's not the board's job to get into this detail. I think there are very smart people, starting with the CEO and the CFO, who need to look into managerial controls and structural issues to determine what's driving this very sharp trend increase, because it's not sustainable. I mean, let's face it, it's not sustainable. If you're flying at a plane at 30,000 feet and you're dropping 10,000 feet a minute, you can't sit and wait to see what happens, right? You're gonna hit the ground. Same thing. We need to implement corrective action as a matter of extreme urgency. Understand the problem and address it constructively. And then I would only say that we need to look at other key drivers of this negative operating financial statement, because we have spoken many, many times about the risk that we are in having no operational reserve. And if ever there was an example, here's it. This is what happens when there are things that are unforeseen, possibly beyond control, that takes you away from your budget assumptions. And if you have no operational reserve, pardon my French here, but you're on the bones of your butt before you know it. And we have a problem. We legally cannot operate at a deficit. That's how serious it is. And so we need to look at those issues, and then this has to be a very, very strong part of our budget planning going forward. As we prepare now for the financial budgets in the years ahead, I think we've got next year, but also like a 5-year vision down the road. We need to bring that into alignment with our articulated vision and all the things that we need to do in terms of funding and activities and execution to realize that vision. But colleagues, we have to also very, very clearly focus on beginning to build an appropriately sized operational reserve. No professional organization can really operate without one. Yeah. It's like having a mortgage on your house, which is built in a flood zone, and you have no insurance. It's a matter of time, right? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and board members, allow me to, and our CFO, allow me to just step one slide forward and share some thoughts with you. So, first of all, Chairman, agree with you. What becomes concerning, and so where my mind is, and what the management team is thinking about, is the no reserves. So just as a reminder, board, I'm here 2 years, you're here 3 years. We inherited a system that did not have a financial reserve as a backstop for us, and we've been trying to pull all this together, but I want to just share with you kind of my point of view. So this is the action plan to address a mid-year operating loss. We've got 6 months to go, actually 5, because we're already through January. So the contributing factors to the loss, this should not be surprising to anyone. Just the missed seasonal attendance of the incline. We would have loved to have been open in June and then had the full benefit of July and August. But as you know, that reconstruction process didn't wrap up until the middle of July, which slowed down some of the momentum.
And the insurance compensation didn't fully take the peak of seasonality.
It doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt for what you might have seen. You're right. It normalizes what attendance might have been. Also a contributing factor, unpaid parking tickets continues to be something, and we've briefed the board on what we plan to do in approaching city council for some mechanisms to better control that. I want to just, it's relevant. We've had a turnover in accounting leadership, so we're very thankful for our new CFO, but it's the third individual in that role in less than a year. And so, you know, and Chief Jones is doing very good work on her behalf, but she's unraveling decisions made by 2 other folks. And so that's a contributor. But also important, remember that we have been winding down from CARES and ARPA. There is no CARES and ARPA funds that we've been relying on for the last 5 years. So that's all done. These are all contributing factors on the expense side.
So Charles, if I may interrupt
Yes.
you there for a moment.
Of course.
And I apologize that I react the way I do. But you know, we as a board have a fiduciary duty to have the financial oversight. And when the red lights are all going off, It is serious.
Yes.
It's not a challenge to your leadership or to your team's professionalism. I mean, you're also accounting for the realities of the situation. I know I sound like a broken record on the parking topics, because we've been on this a few laps already. But I mean, all of these things, to my mind, are maybe strong statements, but true. If we are operating at a deficit, we have many avenues to fix the deficit. I'm not advocating it, but one of them is increasing fares, because you've got to look at revenue to balance your income versus costs. And before, I think, we can, with any integrity as a board, contemplate fare increases from our commuters, we need to make sure that the people who are freeloaders with parking have made their fair contribution. I mean, that's, to me, quite common sense. Yeah. So that's why we need to look at these things. I know it's not always popular, but it's true. It's true. And then the issue of the ARPA funding. Actually, if we're also honest, we, as Carter, have probably been operating at a deficit for several years. It was just masked by the availability that you have the ARPA funds to go and draw on. That was like your cushion. They served the operating reserve role. Now there's no ARPA funds and no operating reserve, and now we're in trouble, right? So that's where we are. So it's not a criticism of just this year. It's a reality of a long-term operational reality. Stemming, I have to say, from the funding on the one hand. Now, we have taken in the last 2 years a lot of effort to increase operational efficiency and get cost controls into place and all those things. But you can't save your way to prosperity. I think we need to look now at the revenue side. I'm sorry, I need to get that off my chest. Okay.
You've got a fan. Well, so Chair Denison, you're not saying anything that we don't already agree with. But I appreciate your candor. So if I may, I just want to share that I think we're aligned in this thought process. And so just back to the slide, the contributing factors to where we are on the revenue are those items. On the expense side, it's the overtime and some transit service inefficiencies. And so the actions and this is, I think, what you asked for. I'm hopeful that this is what you need to hear from this team at this time. What are we going to do about it? And so, number one, just on the revenue side, I can let you know that we've already spoken to the city about the need for an ordinance that would allow us to collect on the people, the scofflaws that have 3 or more tickets that are outstanding. But what I'm talking about are the people that have 100 or more outstanding tickets. There's no mechanism for us to resolve that problem. And so a local booting ordinance that would allow us to have some teeth in doing what we're mandated to do, which is to collect these collect these fees. That's number one. We need to also reevaluate our grant revenue opportunities, and similar to what you just did for me very nicely, that's not a critique on our staff of not doing that. What I'm saying is we need to reevaluate and make sure that we're proactively drawing down every allowable cost across the board, and we need to double down on that effort. But I think for me, as the CEO, I'll just take a minute to stand on that title. the most important thing that we can do moving forward is now possible because of our partners at the ATU. They have come to the table with concessions that will allow us to start to structurally manage overtime that we could not do without their partnership. And so for me, although I recognize the severity of the situation, I am confident that with this new partnership with the union and by implementing some of the service efficiencies, and allow me to get very specific with you, we have on some of our routes a frequency that's appropriate for October at the height of our ridership. It's appropriate. And I'm not sure that some of those frequencies are best used in the lowest months of our ridership. Secondly, we've got some bus routes that go along the same corridor doing different jobs. And to me, those are service efficiencies that Doug and his team have been working on. He talked about the report card. The board has seen the outline of what that looks like. It's time for us to start correcting those inefficiencies. And I'm not talking about, eliminating routes or laying people off. That's not what this is. This is about maximizing the efficiency of our resources, having good communication about that, recutting the work so that we can get to zero by the end of the year, which I feel confident about doing. So message received, allow us to take what is a brand new tool with our partnership with the union. And what we plan to do is a supplemental service schedule. We typically do one in May. We're likely to do one in March, then again in May, then again in August, and slowly step through a path forward here. But I feel confident we'll get there.
I am confident in your leadership and the efforts of your team. And I take reassurance that these action items will really move us in the right direction. When do we anticipate starting the booting ordinance?
We anticipate going to city council in the month of February for this discussion. And so I had briefed city council last year about this. We need to revisit those conversations, but the mayor's office is teeing up when that would go in front of the city council for a consideration.
I think it's important to understand that this is not about wanting to grab some person who has inadvertently got one parking ticket for parking too long on a meter. We've all had that. It happens. But when you have 100 unpaid fines, that's no longer an accident. It's deliberate. It's deliberate. And that's where we should start. Yeah.
Yes. What we need is the ordinance to give us the mechanism to do this, and then we'll bring to the board an order of operation. In other words, the game plan. We're not going to start with a scofflaw that has 3 tickets. We're going to start at the other end of the spectrum. We're going to start with a person that has the 100 outstanding tickets and work backward. And I want to be careful about articulating this. As we presented to you last year, there will be an amnesty period. There will be an opportunity to donate food before this goes active. There will be some safeguards for this community. The goal really is to protect future revenue and draw the line that this can't go on. You can't just throw away your ticket.
So I think that's the right way to go about it. And frankly, we want to make sure that we give people the opportunity to do the right thing.
That's right.
That's what it amounts to.
Very good.
Has this already been drafted?
What's that?
what you're gonna propose to the city council?
The ordinance has been drafted, and happy to share it with you. It's quite a bit of legal ease, and also our lawyer is here who could actually speak to it much better than I can.
Will it take 2 readings at city council?
2 readings.
February and March, so it could be enacted by April, May, possibly.
That's what we're hopeful for. It's currently under review by the city attorney's office.
Okay, where are they scheduled to get back to us on that?
I can follow up with them today.
Okay,
It's, if I may, it's on their radar. We've got the mayor's offices engaged, and I'm not sure that the 2 readings need to be separated by some amount of time. It's not 30 days between the readings. They could happen week after week for that. And so they understand, if you recall, board members, when we first introduced the $4.5 million of outstanding tickets to this community, a couple of years ago, it's significant. And frankly, in many states, enforcement of this happens at the DMV, at the state level. And I frankly feel that I don't think it's fair, although life isn't fair, for CARTA to be the enforcer without any teeth to do so. And so us going to the city is the proper channel to go for an ordinance, which is the mechanism that we need to do our jobs properly.
Well, in many places, you go to renew your vehicle license if you go to outside funds.
That's right. That's right. And just so that mayor's office has heard that from us as well. And so when they're approaching the legislative delegation to see if that might be an opening, that's also under discussion. It's not that's not off the table, but I don't know the likelihood.
Okay. Thank you. Reassuring. I think this is going in the right direction.
Thank you, sir. We need to move on.
Yes, please.
We'll go to item 8B, interim incline vendor contract. If we could have Brent and Matthew join us at the table. Oh, sorry, you need to accept the financial report. I took over facilitating.
Thank you, ma'am, for keeping us honest. Any other comments, observations, or questions on the financial report? Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second? All in favor? Any opposed? Approved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Carter Board.
Good morning, sir.
Staff and guests, thank you. I appreciate that. I am going to read the memo. It's on page 21. We've got the highlights up here if you want to look at the screen and not, if you don't want to follow the memo. This is for the interim incline railway contract. Recommended action. Staff is going to recommend that the board authorize the CEO to negotiate an emergency contract with the Reiner Group LLC for the management of the incline railway ticket sales in both retail and food operations. The alignment with our strategic goals, this action aligns with CARTA's strategic imperatives of customer service, of fiscal accountability. The summary of need. Approval of this item will allow CARTA to negotiate and execute a contract with the Reiner Group LLC to assume operations with the following base terms. It's a 3-year contract effective March 1st, 2026. CARTA will receive 100% of the ticket sales revenue. Reiner LLC will give a preference for hiring the existing Sea-Rock City employees. And it's for the operation of the admissions, food, beverage, and retail. I'm not going to talk about the background history. We've talked about that over and over. The fiscal impact, a 12-month fiscal analysis indicates that overall revenue expectations for the incline railway will remain revenue neutral as compared to the existing contract with Sea-Rock City. So, that is our recommendation. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have them.
We also have representatives from Reiner Group here today.
There's 3 of them here.
Brett, we approved this today. When could they be operational?
March 1st. They can.
Rock
They're-
City ends 28. We're up and rolling on March 1st.
They can, we've got some gentlemen here from Reiner. They can probably speak to that, but they can,
So do you
Once
care to
we're-
comment on that? It's better to hear it directly.
If we signed a paper.
If you would you please stand up and introduce yourselves?
I'm John Reiner.
Proud Papa Joe Reiner. And I'm Dylan May. I'm the brother-in-law, son-in-law.
Welcome.
Is this perhaps a family business?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What was the question?
Question was operational date, start of operations and your readiness process to do that.
If we signed something today, we could be fully operational tomorrow. Everything's already in place for ticket sales. We can move into the gift shop. It would just be a very easy transition.
So,
We already do the exact same thing in the exact same space. March first, I would be biting my nails waiting on March first, to be honest with you. So whenever that happens and Sea Rock City is ready for transition, it doesn't have to be on the 26th or 28th. It could happen in the middle of that time period. And then we could just switch over.
So there are two things, at least for me, that I'm curious about. And I ask only because I am ignorant. What is your ticket sales process and mechanism and system?
Yeah, it's Fair Harbor, one of the most used ticketing software systems in the United States. They have over 20,000 people. It can be fully integrated into ridetheincline.com this afternoon if it needed to be. This system is already completely built out. It just I need access to the website to plug it in.
So your IT people can do that quite easily, I gather that.
And if we left this meeting, it could be done in an hour. Everything's already built out. The incline is a very easy, it's a lot like Chattanooga Ducks is. They have one item. It's Ride the Incline. With a couple different tickets, adults, kids, so yes, very, very simple.
we should hire people that quickly.
Legitimately, if we sign something today, it could be done in an hour with proper access to all of y'all stuff.
Group sales.
All of it, infrastructure is already there. We do it all.
The second question, and I'm thinking here primarily from the point of view of the convenience of our riders. If they go to the concession shop and they want to buy things, how are you handling the transition of inventories to ensure continuity from a customer point of view? Because they don't want to know about changes of operators. They just want a seamless process.
Yeah, that should not happen at all. It would be done overnight. The customer would not be affected whatsoever in any of this transition.
If I may, thank you for that, sir. I think the question is really for management, which is we will negotiate with Sea Rock City and Reiner LLC to have a smooth transition. And there are some details to work out. For example, maybe there's some inventory that we'd like to keep, and maybe there's not any inventory that we'd like to keep. So those meetings can happen. I've met personally with Doug Chapin at Sea Rock City, and they are committed to seeing us be successful in this transition. For background, I've met Mr. Reiner before. The first time I met him, he asked me if we would sell the Incline, to which I declined.
I'm a believer in the incline.
I declined the offer, but
They offer a price.
I wasn't interested because we got our own grand plans for the Incline. But for those transitional things, and I know on the board memo, what we're saying is that the contract would go into play on March 1st. It could really go into play earlier. What we're looking for is authorization for me to negotiate and execute the contract. And we will work out those details in that negotiation. But the goal, Director Nye, the goal is minimizing loss of revenue for CARTA, since that's so critical for what we need to be keeping our eye on right now in this time frame. And thereafter, and to do that, so the priority is the admissions ticket sales. And in this scenario, we get 100% of the revenue from that. And so we're gonna prioritize that, followed by the concessions, followed by all of the other things, but I feel confident that this team, they've satisfied my questions. But I don't want that to cut off your questions. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah, I will say, he did mention net neutral. I would be outrageously disappointed if that happened. We had our best year ever in 2024, and last year we beat that by 84%. So for me to go into this and us to break even with what was happening prior, it would be a very, very large disappointment. That should not happen.
It's high expectations.
So one observation from myself. As important as any other thing we've discussed is to ensure continuity of the ice cream business.
Yeah.
Make sure, please. So, more seriously, a question to Brent, you've had like a funnel where you were considering a range of vendors and you narrowed it down to where we are today. Could you elaborate to us why you're recommending specifically, or why you reached the conclusion to make the recommendation that you are?
Yes, we, in evaluating the other vendors, some were just looking for the clumpy space. We had a couple who weren't interested in doing anything with the clumpy space. We had one vendor who was just gonna help us with the ticketing. We did have two that were interested in running the full scale of everything. And one of them was gonna give us percentages of the tickets and the food and the merchandise and everything. But the Reinert LLC offered giving us 100%, and he didn't speak to this, but when we spoke to him, we've talked about this, is the ability to package tickets with the riverboat and the ducks and the incline. And that is gonna give us a chance to drive, and we feel like we're gonna get an increase higher in revenue, and we're gonna get 100% of that than we would be able to do in selling trinkets and other merchandise.
I can see that there's going to be a lot of synergistic opportunity by putting together the tourist attractions here in a bundle. Yeah.
Frictionless, synergistic ecosystem. That's a good word for
Those are
you.
good words.
I have to
man.
go look up all those words. All right. Any other comments, colleagues?
I understand you have your own warehouse.
We have two. One of them is, you see Moon Pie over there. We own Moon Pie Direct and 8 Moon Pie General stores around the southeast. We have a 12,000 square foot warehouse that's attached to the Chattanooga Bakery. And then we have another 12,000 square foot warehouse that is right across from the new baseball stadium. And then we also have the third level of our dockside vessel with another 10,000 square feet, which is being unused, but it could very easily be utilized for another warehouse space. Yes, we do have, again, all this infrastructure. I think the kind of the changeover, the transition period. I would be more than happy to buy every single thing that Doug Chapin owns that's in that building, if we can come to a deal on it. Let's say he did not want to sell anything to us, that'd be completely fine as well. We have everything in place. We have the shelving systems, the dipping cabinets, and we have, 2 warehouses full of shirts and sweatshirts, and we've got our own sourcing guy that could get us trademarked Incline Railway stuff in 2 to 3 weeks. But we would have that entire gift shop full. Let's say worst case scenario the next day. That's worst case scenario.
How many employees do y'all have?
Top middle of the peak season in the 80s.
So it would be a quick transition.
Yeah, but it says that preference, I would much rather keep everybody up there. Let's keep, they know more about the incline than I do. They've been working there. So we're gonna go in, and what we do is there's no shock and awe. We go in, we kind of see how everything's kind of going. And then slowly do our little tweaks to the operation to make it more efficient, a better customer experience. So that's what we're all after. It's obviously ridership, but if you give a better customer experience, they go online, the review, the more people see it, you go to the top of, the organic SEO, SEM, that's another thing. We can also bring that in-house and take all that stuff over. We're one-stop shop for everything. So all that, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, all that stuff we can take over as well.
And you're local.
We're outrageously local, yeah. Yeah. Born and raised here. Yeah.
Definitely means something to us.
Yeah.
Cause we have people from like Denver,
Mhm.
you know, they're just stuff, I'm like, I prefer that.
Yeah, it's just always really cool. I did this morning coming down the ridge cut. You look over at Lookout Mountain and there's, you know, the line cut straight down the middle. It's just it's a super cool thing, right? The most iconic thing in Chattanooga is Lookout Mountain. We have a train that goes straight up the mountain. There should be 400,000 people that ride that thing every year. There's no reason that number should be as low as they are.
I'd like to lie to that.
I was just about to say, that was one of them. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of activation that can take place to get us more ridership. November, December we should be competing with Rock City and the Enchanted Garden Lights. There's absolutely no doubt about it. We drive around looking for things. My family does. We go to the summit, you know, we go to Jones Drive and, you know, and East Ridge. I mean, the incline railway should be on that stop. And Halloween, there's a ton of them. The most exciting one, I know we're not here for this, but is the ball drop. We should have a massive ball, on New Year's. We should shut down St. Elmo. The ball should come down and at midnight, it should hit the bottom. We should have fireworks. There's just.
So please make sure that's the only ball that gets dropped. In the interest of time, are there any other questions that we have, or can we proceed to vote?
I make a motion that we accept this contract with Reinhardt Group LLC.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, so approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's meant to be, man, to come together with your group. Kicking it off.
That's what you're doing.
Mark
It does.
Perfect. Yeah.
We're back on. All right,
Thank you.
okay. Preliminary operating budget framework.
Yes, good afternoon, good morning, Chair Denison and board members, feels like afternoon. We're on page 23 of your packet, and in just a minute, we're gonna go to your handout, which is the 11/17. But before we do that, I just want to draw your attention to this screen here so that you understand how things are gonna flow out over the next 6 months. So today, we're gonna present you two things. We're gonna present you the budget framework, which is preliminary. And then we're gonna ask you to approve our submission to Hamilton County because it's due tomorrow. And so we're asking you for that approval, right? And you've seen that before. But what you can anticipate, so we're gonna give you kind of a high, medium, low, 3 versions of the budget. Then next month, we're gonna give you a refined budget, and we're gonna ask you to approve that at the March meeting so that we can submit our budget request to the city of Chattanooga in March. And then we have this kind of long time frame, April, May, when we're waiting for the county and the city to make their decisions. And we'll present to you a final budget that you must approve in June before July. So you're gonna get 3 kind of bites at the apple of this. And it should not be brand new information every single time. It should be refined information each time. Today is the most vague. It's just giving you the landscape of where expenses and revenues are anticipated. And you'll see there's not a large swing in what we're looking for this next year. So I'm going to turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer. She's going to walk you through this spreadsheet that you also have at your desk, and she's going to give you the details.
Thank you.
So we have 3 different versions of what this 2027 budget framework could entail. The first version, V1, is a reasonable next step in that evolution and trajectory that we initially discussed as we continue to grow our operation and find opportunities within our community. And I'll focus first on version 1 so that you get a complete picture. Version 1, it has fare increases from $1.50 to $1.75 within that passenger revenue section. We also have, just as an FYI, if you were to go across in the passenger fare, the version 2, which is more of a stay the course in a current scenario, we don't have a change in fare in that version or in the contingency version. So that's why you see those numbers being static. Within our parking revenue, again, back to the V1, the V1 has an increase on the lots. So it does also take into consideration the lookouts moving. But there's still an increase over current year from the overall parking participation. Version 2 has on-street parking going to $2. Version 3 has on-street parking going to $2.50. So those are the iterations that are included there. We left advertising revenue static in all 3 scenarios. And so our operating revenue is impacted by each of those items that I've outlined. The local operating revenue is TBD, obviously, as Mr. Fraser indicated. We will be awaiting the decisions by some of these potential grant awards to see where exactly they land and where some of that local assistance may come from. If we go down to the operating expenses, within our version 1, that reflects an increase to weekend service. Version 2 reflects no service increases, and version 3 actually reflects a service decrease. So again, the contingency version, the reasonable next step is again, our trajectory into the future. V2 is a stay the course. V3 is we've got some serious conversations.
So the service decrease is then a matter of right sizing our work to fit our resources.
That's correct. And we continue in that vein as we move through this.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the overall operations, that those numbers are impacted by the type of impacts that we would have within each of those sections, as we noted. Where you would have, again, in version 1, the increased weekend service, version 2, no service increase, and version 3 with a service decrease. Within our operational areas, those costs would be impacted based upon those decreases. And to your point, sir, the impacted operations that we would need to draw down from service reductions would also be reflected within the operational changes.
So I'm going to take it that, you're being very professional in your role as the chief financial officer. You're merely outlining some scenarios.
Yes.
I don't take from this that you're necessarily a massive friend or advocating for going backwards.
Absolutely.
You're just illustrating what will happen if.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think it's important for us to make educated decisions and educated with enough information to be able to make those calls. And look at the few different scenarios that we could take and the approaches that we could take, depending upon how we are led to direct. And so a lot of that comes from the funding opportunities. It comes from internal decisions that we may be able to make or to exercise. There are certainly service optimization opportunities that are being reviewed and will be implemented. So I think on an overall basis, what we're looking at is ensuring that we're running a very effective, efficient operation, and at the same time, looking at the future and our growth
So I
opportunities.
think that's precisely right. I'm belaboring this point only because I want to make sure that nobody walks out of here with the wrong idea, that this is one of the options that Carter is pursuing. I think your role is analogous to, being the pilot. You have to fly the plane to Miami. And if they're only fueling you for enough fuel to land in Jacksonville, you've got to tell dispatch, look, guys, we're not going to make Miami. We're going to land in Jacksonville. That's what it amounts to, right? Okay.
At the request of the board, we've included just as a footnote information below what the benefit expenses are currently running. I left the number static because obviously as payroll ebbs and flows, it will change. But based upon our half-year run rate through December, in capturing those costs times 2, that's where you end up with our actual cost of benefits and our actual cost of pension.
So can I ask, obviously you prepared these numbers prior to last night's approval of the new agreement.
Mhm.
So to the extent that the assumptions here are different from what was finally agreed in the contract, that will influence it.
Yes,
But given that the contract was valid to end of next year, is that right?
and
This
this
year.
year.
End of this year.
26, yes,
So it's only for limited duration anyway,
correct.
in terms of its impact on the longer term numbers.
We would anticipate, yes, but we would anticipate that the contract goes beyond, we'll be back at the negotiating table to continue the contract
Right.
thereafter.
Okay. And you would just have assumptions in the meantime.
Exactly. I believe that taking this approach just gives us the opportunity to look at different directions that we could go with the organization. And this is 2027. So it's on the horizon. We're not in it yet, but we certainly can be planning for it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Sure.
Any other comments, colleagues?
Well, I'm sorry if I may, I do want to just call out as well, because I think this is important for our employees to hear. We're intentionally planning cost of living and wage adjustments in the same vein. In our reasonable next step, I just want to be clear on the practicality of this. On our reasonable next step, we've got a transportation improvement program. We want to do better for this community. We want to have better frequency of buses. We want to have expanded caravan service. We want to have better shuttle service. And so we're going to need to attract employees and take care of the folks that are already doing the heavy lift. And so I just want to draw your attention to line 27, which is accordingly, we're planning for a 4% increase in that. And similarly, if we're forced into a survival mode, then it reduces to 2%. And then if we're in a contingency mode, we're maybe there's nothing. But I just want to, for conversation, I want to make sure that we're being intentional about what happens. Our plan is to grow. And we've put forward the results of increased ridership, increased efficiency in the last 2 years to make that a reasonable next step forward, in my opinion.
And to Charles's point, another important area to call out are those service efficiency actions. So what the work that Doug is doing, the work that the team is doing to identify opportunities where we can, without causing harm, without causing any sort of major disruption, actually impact some of the costs by identifying service efficiencies and finding better ways to run operations, minimal impact, minimal overall perspective, with some return on just decreasing costs where they're just not necessary. And it's one of the areas that I believe is important to us is even as we go into working with the team members and developing this more detailed budget over the next few months, is finding out from our team members what is critical to our operations, what costs are necessary to our operations, what are our must-haves, so that we can really be good stewards of the funds that we're given and be not only responsive to the community, but to our overall board, to our team members, and continue to reward them for the work they do.
Well, I think that's right. I would also say that part of being responsible and ensuring that we deliver maximum efficiency and productivity, it's also being responsible to our stakeholders.
Yes.
Because the more we get our arms around being the best that we can be with the least amount of resources that we require, the less burden we have to put on the city and the county to ask the taxpayers for funding, right? So it's all right. Any other questions, colleagues?
Line 17, maintenance. I see you got, reasonable next step, survival and then contingency. Cutting back on maintenance is.
We're not
Never
cutting
did
back.
that.
It's just the implication of the cost of living raises. So if you look at, if you take the employee costs within the maintenance line and you give them a 4% raise in V1, a 2% raise in V2 and 0 in V3, that's where you're getting the dollars.
No reduction in
No.
maintenance.
They're still changing the oil all the time.
That's just the.
Well, one of the things, if I may, too, and I know that Mr. Rivera just stepped out, but one of the things that we talked about, he's been at many properties. And the first thing he recognized, as he was on, he was like, these vehicles, why are they so old? And the 32-year-old shuttle and, fixed route bus with more than 500,000 miles, like what is going on here? And so he, I think it was a little bit eye-opening for him, who's been at many properties. Bill, Director Nye, we need more funding in this area. I'm sorry, I try not to be try to be more formal at the board meetings.
Those guys work for him.
Any other questions?
If you have any questions, I'm happy to entertain any of the questions that you may have.
We would look for approval of the framework plan.
Yeah, are we exhausted on questions? Probably not. But for now. Can I have a motion to approve the framework, budget framework as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, you have directional approval. No doubt, we'll get into the weeds with the nitty-gritty detail, but good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Hamilton County.
Good morning. Still. I will be very brief as I know time is limited. Today, I'm asking for your authorization to submit our fiscal year 27 budget request to Hamilton County. The total request of the county is $816,800. Of note, there was a scrivener's error in what was sent to you earlier, but what's in front of you is correct. I'll briefly go through these. The first is an expansion of our, as you know, we have a first hour free program. The county had engaged us in discussions of parking opportunities, and we thought we would present this one for them to fund the second hour free. That would be a real game changer for downtown merchants and residents. And so that is the nature of that ask. Secondly, the drug court program, which was funded by the county last year. You'll recall 2 years ago that the county zeroed out the budget, and we met with them extensively and came up with a menu. And one of the things they chose was this drug court program, because the drug court is located outside of our fixed route bus system. And so the folks in it couldn't get to the court. So this allowed an expansion of the Car2Go zone. They funded a driver. And in the first year, we allowed them to ride free. The increase in this ask represents the increase in the cost of a driver and to cover the fares both in fixed route and Car2Go for the people in the program. Thirdly, they also chose to fund a Caravan Program 3 subsidy last year. The difference this year is that we acknowledge the amount of trips used, and then we did increase the ask from $15 to $25 to better cover the cost of the Caravan programs. Fourthly, the Chambliss Child Care Program. The Chambliss Center, as you know, provides critical programs for our community, especially early education for low-income and at-risk children from primarily single-parent households. This transportation would remove a significant barrier for the families to access for the parents to work. This request is for $50,000. We met with them and they're in quite a bad way. This is really crucial for these families, this request. Fifth, a County Connect pilot program. This would take advantage of some grants we would apply for, and we need local matches. The grant is called Critical Trips, and it would, especially in the outer reaches of the county, provide transit opportunities, I don't have much more information on that. I don't know if you'd like to add anything there.
I could simply just add that it would be the precursor to an expansion of caravan service countywide. So there's some test dollars, pilot dollars that are available. It's very restricted use. The trips have to be very specific. But if the county would fund it, it might be an opportunity for us to further partner with them. So we want to have that
This
conversation.
is caravan and not fixed road.
Sorry, caravan, yes, it would be, I don't know that we would utilize caravan yet because we don't even know if the county is interested, so I don't want to pre-apply the solution yet. It could be anything. There's very specific trips that this is for, so I would call it non-emergency medical transportation. Without any definition of how that's accomplished yet,
So it's for discussion with the county.
we need to, if we want to have the discussion with it, we need to submit it in our grant, if we need to submit it in our budget request so that we can have the discussion, we're putting it in the request.
Understood.
Similarly, and finally, we're proposing a seasonal Chattanooga Airport shuttle pilot program, especially targeted towards events where the city is hosting large numbers of people, to accommodate. It's an economic development measure, working with Hamilton County, to when we have those big events, to make them successful, and get people from the airport to downtown and back in a timely manner. In hopes, I mean, I won't lie, I would love there to be a full-time shuttle. This would be a pilot to see how that works. Airport shuttles are tricky things to enact, and this one, in a targeted way, felt like a good way to see if it can work in this community. So I respectfully request the board's authorization. This must be submitted tomorrow. That is the county deadline. If there are any questions, I'll entertain them for you.
Colleagues, we discussed this at the executive committee meeting, but there may well be either the same or new questions.
I just want to say I'm appreciative of the specificity of these asks and of the line item nature in which we're putting this forward. And if I've been uncharacteristically quiet today, I just want to also say that the confidence that I have in this staff and the way that it has grown is the reason for my lack of interruption.
Thank you.
Like, we are award winning at this point. So-
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So I just want to, as the meeting wraps down, I just want to say thank you tremendously to staff all across the board for coming to these compromises, doing this work, and just doing a tremendous job.
Well, probably true to say also, Corey, if I spoke less, you would have more opportunities. Right. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, motion to approve this request? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
This is part of the 1 AM flight when it's delayed.
Motion carried.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the 1 AM flight, you should use the 500,000-mile shuttle.
Well, so you just give me a call.
All right. Well done. Which brings us to new business.
Yes, good morning, Chair Denice, board members. We're on page 27 of your packet. This is the Shuttle Park North rooftop activation. This is a proposal from a local group called Understory. This today is for information only. No board action is requested at this time. Overview, Understory is a local artist-led agency. They approached CARTA with a proposal that would temporarily activate the rooftop of Shuttle Park North Garage through an arts and community-based initiative known as the Picnic Project. CARTA proposes to support the pursuit of this externally funded activation to increase garage utilization and promote CARTA parking and transit services with no direct cost to CARTA. Alignment with strategic goals. This action aligns with CARTA's strategic imperatives of increasing asset utilization and strengthening CARTA's brand as an integrated community-oriented mobility provider. In short, I want to just draw you to a couple of pictures with the success of our first hour free parking and the intention of us to recalibrate our shuttle routes it's important that we continue to draw attention to the first hour free and the shuttle routes themselves. Also, with the lookouts leaving their current stadium and going to the new, we want to keep the north shuttle garage active during this transition. And so this to me is a win-win. We don't have all the details yet, but Understory is wanting to activate just the rooftop of the garage with art installations, similar to what you might see here. The art installations themselves generally would be free to the public to come and see. However, there will be ticketed events as well, in which you have to buy a ticket and they come up, there's music, there might be an open bar, there might be something like this to activate. In this partnership, Understory and all of the artists will be promoting, come to the garage, first hour free parking, or park at Shuttle Park South, first hour free parking, and take the free shuttle over. They're promoting CARTA in this, and they're getting use of the rooftop. Important for the board, the time frame for this would be the September to November timeframe this fall, when utilization is lower for us. So we do not anticipate any loss of revenue from making the top level available for this use. At the end, we think this is a win-win. The transaction would be kind of twofold. CARTA is working with Understory now on a grant application. CARTA would apply for the grant, no cost for CARTA to do so. Understory would be a subrecipient, and those funds would be used to allow the artists the funds they need to build out this picnic area. And so that's the overview. I'm not looking for approval at this time. I want to make you aware of it. We will come back to the board for approval should this get legs and it's likely that we would be able to receive a grant. We'll come back with a request for the board to approve both a subrecipient agreement and our ability to apply for the grant. Those would be the two things. But I just give this to you for introduction now, and would take any questions that you might have.
Any assistance we can provide in helping next or?
I don't think so today. Next week, Understory and I will meet with some potential grantors to look for the funding. But if it becomes an opportunity for the board, I will reach out and ask for that support.
It sounds to me like a really nice idea. I mean, after all, CARTA is a community-focused organization. And this is a nice way to engage with the community and do something back. And particularly if it comes at no cost. I'm quite enthusiastic about it.
Thank you.
But I heard you talk about music and open bar. You got me at that point. Sounds like fun.
Good.
All right. Any other comments, colleagues? All right, since it's for information, I presume we can just continue. I have one bit of infinite wisdom, Scott, to you and your quest to the county for the, where are you? 2-second hour parking fee. I'm a salesman. You should make the 3rd hour parking free.
And leave the second.
And have people pay for the second, that way you get money twice. All right. So I think that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting.
We would want to adjourn and
Motion to adjourn,
the executive session.
second,
Second.
meeting adjourned. Thank you for good discussion.
Board members.
We move on to executive session as soon as we